I'm Greg Cummings, CEO of Power100. We are here in Minnesota to talk to Terri, one of Lindus Construction's clients. We want to get to the bottom of what's behind me here, her enclosed porch. It looks beautiful, but we want to hear about the process. We want to hear her perspective, and we want to know what her overall experience was with Lindus Construction. Let's go talk to Terri and see how she does. And as always, power up. First of all, Terri, thank you for having us out to your home, and I'm glad we were able to set up in the house here that Lindus built on the outside.
Yeah, the screen porch that they made is fantastic. I'm delighted with it. I love my backyard, and I want to be able to enjoy it through more seasons than just the summer, and so this seemed like the perfect solution to that.
That's interesting. So how did you go about your start of your search? That's one of the hardest things as a homeowner. This is not a cheap investment, right?
No, right.
It's a very big investment. You're literally gaining living space.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about that?
Contacted a few people, interviewed a few people, and Lindus was on the list of one of those things I got. And when I talked with them, it felt like a good fit for me, that I could talk to them. I had some ideas. They were able to take those ideas and create something even better.
So what was the deciding factor, and then where was Lindus priced in all the people that you shopped?
Mm-hmm.
And then how much did price play a factor into your decision?
With Lindus, they were not the least expensive, but they weren't the most expensive. The only additions were additions I made, like adding insulation to the roof so that it would extend the weather. So they were honest, and the price that they quoted me was the price I paid.
So what was the moment where you're like, you know what, that stands out the most to me with their process?
Jordan is the salesman that I was working with. I felt like he wasn't rushing me in making the decision, that he took time to answer questions, that he took time to show me different things, the mock-up of what it would look like. And I never felt pressured at all to make a decision. So it didn't feel like I was being sold.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, it felt more like it was a service, somebody who was consulting with me about what I wanted.
How did they show up on day one? First of all, were they on time? And I'm curious on this.
Mm-hmm.
Were they on time? Did they show up? Was it as expected? Did they communicate with you throughout the process after you wrote them that first check?
No, the communication was really good throughout the process. They kept me informed. I could contact them with questions. Now, day one of the demolition of the old deck was a bit auspicious in that they hit a water line and they took out my internet. And they owned up to it right away. They were incredibly responsive. They said, we know you're going to be without water. We'll put you up in a hotel if you want. I mean, they understood the inconvenience that created for me, and they made it right. And I felt like it's actually because of the way that they responded to that, it built trust rather than eroded trust, because they were open and honest and worked with me through that entire process. And I remember one day coming and looking at, and George, one of the guys on construction, had his phone showing an angle to Tim, the project manager, saying, if we do it this way, it's not going to line up right at the roof line. And the attention to detail of the carpenters, the electrician, the project manager is all through the process was really important to me. And I felt like, again, I could trust that they were doing a good job. And then, after the project was over, an inspector from Lindus came, and he went through this with a fine-tooth comb and found things that I hadn't found, place that needed caulking, that the windows weren't all the way up with the winter months coming, and he's taking care of all of those things. And so, I've had experiences with contractors where when they get towards the end of a project, they're on to the next one and they're not giving you the attention. And I never felt that with Lindus. I felt like they followed this all the way through to the end.
Lindus takes it to a whole nother level. They inspect every single project like that.
Yeah, it was
with
really
with the quality control.
it was really impressive.
If you could describe your experience with Lindus Construction in one word, what would it be?
Dependable. I mean, they had to take out a window, put in a door, take out a door, put in a wall. There were not small things to this. And they made it look like this came with the house. Like, this is what the house was supposed to be.
You know, we are out to really make sure that there's a guiding light in this industry because it gets a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you know, not all of them are as good as Lindus. That's why they're the 5th ranked company in the entire country on a national level, even though they're just out of one location.
Uh-huh.
But I want to thank you again so much for your time, Terri. And if you guys liked this content, you want to see more, we do have more interviews with other Lindus Construction homeowners, and we're excited to share those stories with you. So until next time, as always, power up.